big dream for me is to become an Ironman champion. That is 100% what I work for each and every day. And it's not a case of, okay, I want to be an Ironman champion. Where can we pick? It's a case of, I want to go to a big Ironman and I want to win that race. And I feel and I believe that I do have the capabilities. I just feel like I need more time to get there. I feel I've definitely got potential to improve in all three areas of swim, bike and run. And I'm super excited to get there. And I know I won't stop until I do.
That's Kim Morrison, and this is the Oxygen Addict Triathlon Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon Podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors PrecisionHydration.com. Electrolytes in different strengths that match how you sweat. You can get 15% off your first order with the code OxygenAddict15. And we're also brought to you by TRRnutrition.com. TRR Pro Advanced Collagen is a liquid supplement that helps support your joints and bones and is used by Ironman champions Craig Alexander, Tim Don, and Sarah Svensk. You can get 15% off with the code OxygenAddict15. Hi everybody, I hope you're good. Welcome to the show. As you've already heard, today's interview is with Kimberley Morrison, Uber biker. She's a 3-time 70.3 champion. She recently finished on her first podium at the Ironman distance and qualified for Kona. So she's a very interesting story, actually. Spent the first 3 years of her life, or a large part of it, in Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital. So it's not your usual triathlon story, let's put it that way. I think you'll look forward to hearing that one. So how you doing? How's your week been? I hope you're managing to get outside and take advantage of the breaks in the weather and have some adventures. I have been having some epic adventures since we last spoke. I managed to go out for an epic over 6-hour mountain bike ride this weekend, which just utterly destroyed me. Both in terms of not quite being fit enough to do it with my friend Andy that I was riding with, but also in terms of I just kept falling off. I had three little falls, we'll call them. And one of them, I came to a dead stop as we were trying to head down a little gully across a little waterfall. My bike came to a dead stop and I tried to put my foot down and I fell. It was a basic nightmare. Fell down over the edge of this little lip of the waterfall. And I maybe in reality fell about a foot, maybe a foot and a half into the rocks below. It felt like about 20 at the time. So I let out I yelped like a little schoolboy and Andy came running back for me and kind of picked me up. I was upside down like a turtle with my feet still clipped into the mountain bike. He came and pulled me out. So I'm sitting here nursing various sore knees and shins and ankles and stuff. So it was a pretty memorable week out, I have to say. Pretty memorable day out. Really good fun. So I hope you are also out there getting some good adventures in. Hopefully a little bit less injury prone than I am. Right, we've got some news for you this week, sponsored by Precision Hydration. Precision Hydration make targeted electrolytes that match how you sweat. So if you're a very heavy sweater or a very salty sweater like I am, you can mix in very concentrated electrolytes into your drinks. They're not made with sodium chloride or table salt. They're made with a different kind of sodium. So you can give you an example. I put 2 of their 1,500 milligram sachets into one bottle when we were riding for mountain biking in the sun this Sunday. So I had 3 grams of sodium, 3,000 milligrams of sodium in one bottle. That would be the equivalent of the same amount of sodium from over 10 bottles of Gatorade, to give you an idea. So it's just a really handy way to take it. Even with 2 of those 1,500 milligram sachets in one bottle, it didn't taste salty. It's got a really neutral flavor, and it just means you can drink it and you actually stay hydrated and you're not washing out. If you just drink water, you're just washing out effectively more of the electrolytes that you need. So 6 hours of riding up the hills in the sun. It was a hot day, no cramps at all for me, which was fantastic. So I'm really, really loving this supplement. I highly recommend that you go and take it, and you can use the code OxygenAddict15 for 15% off your first order there. It's one of my favorite supplements to take. All right, so news and bits and bobs that I have seen from around the internet. So the first thing is poor old Joe Skipper has had his bike stolen off the roof of his car. He was out in France. He's headed down there to do some riding on the Girardmer course, and had his very distinctive Quintana Roo time trial bike. It's like an electric blue colour with pink writing on that matches his kit, and that was nicked off the roof bars of his car apparently. So Joe, I hope you have some success in getting that back. Absolutely gutted for anybody who gets the bike stolen. It's a horrible, horrible feeling. Other things I've seen, over on the PTO Hub, we got a great head-to-head interview there with Cam Worth and Lucy Charles. They're a really good, funny interview couple together. I've got to say, they did a really good job of interviewing each other. So get over there and check that out. Cam Worth trolling Lionel Sanders is one of my favourite pastimes to sit and watch as a guilty pleasure. So that's good fun. Get over there and check that out. And literally, as we went to press, as I was starting to record this, an email came through from British Triathlon that says, and I quote, "We are delighted that swim, bike and run events and activity can resume across England." So check this out. Here's what it actually says. "From today, event organisers, including clubs in England, can apply to British Triathlon for a permit, and permitted events can take place from the 25th of July. So this is like a Yahoo moment, isn't it? Official good news that events can apply for permits from British Triathlon. So there's a real chance now, it's a real sense that there is going to be some racing taking place here in the UK across August and September. So fingers crossed for more on that. Like I said, I've got no more information than the email that was just sent out from British Triathlon, but I think that's a really positive move. It's in the right direction. And I know some of the event directors that I've been talking to have been furiously planning in the background for events to go ahead and been waiting for this kind of guidance as well. So there's some real positive stuff there. That's really good. And don't forget, there's plenty of virtual stuff that you can do as well in the meantime to keep yourself engaged and on it. So yeah, that's really good stuff there. That's pretty much all the news there was. It'll be great to get to the point again, won't it, where we've actually got more actual real news and race news to talk about. Okay, Coach's Couch this week. I wanted to talk to you and encourage you to challenge some mental limiters. I want you to think about and go away and sit down and really think about this. What are you actually capable of that you don't think you're capable of, or that you don't realize that you're capable of? I was talking with someone the other day, and that's what's led to this, who basically said to me, I would love to do an Ironman, but there's no way that I can do it. I haven't got the time. I haven't got the ability. There's no way I can fit the rides in. I'm not a talented enough athlete to do this. You know, that kind of idea of Ironman is only for the really talented super athletes to go and do. And so we sat down and we had a chat, and very quickly sort of got to the root of this with the person, saying, there's some assumptions you've made here, both about yourself and about the people who do Ironman, that might not be true. This person is a very good standard athlete and is easily capable of completing an Ironman, but obviously doesn't think so, and also wrongly assumes that the entire field of Ironman events is full of complete uber athletes, and that there aren't those sort of everyman athletes and every woman athletes taking part. So it made me think we could perhaps explore this on the podcast and say to people, what is there out there that's stopping you from doing this? If you're dreaming of entering an Ironman or dreaming of entering a 70.3 and you haven't got around to doing it, what's stopping you? And in fact, is there a better time than now to give it a go? Because while lots of people assumed in the early days of lockdown they would have no time, I'm speaking to more and more and more people who are actually saying, I've got more time than I thought I had to do training, to be with a family. I've managed to streamline my working week. I'm not commuting at the moment. I'm not spending the hour going into London twice a day and the associated drive back from the station to the house. So actually, these people have reclaimed up to 3 hours a day in some cases, where that time is now free to be split amongst their family, relaxing, and some of that's training. So I really wanted to sit down and look with new eyes over the amount of time you've got available to you. If you're going to be working from home at the moment and you're saving the commuting time, is that an opportunity for you to think, right, actually I could put a few more hours away during the week for training? Maybe that's the difference that gives you the confidence to enter a 70.3 or enter an Ironman distance event. Now, even I think that goes true for people who are both looking at sort of preparing for the first Ironman, but also people who maybe have done a 70.3 or Ironman and have put off the idea of, I'd really like to go sub 5 at 70.3, or I'd really like to go sub 10 at Ironman, but I don't have the time to commit to it. Maybe if you reanalyze the time that you do have right now, maybe there's a window here to put that bit more time in. And actually that might push you over the edge of something you've assumed that wouldn't be possible for you might actually be possible because all of a sudden things are different. Lockdown isn't all bad. I've discovered this in my own life. I've really streamlined my working week. It's really freed up time to do other stuff. And I was saying to somebody the other day, I said I wouldn't do another Ironman for the foreseeable because I haven't got the time. But actually, I've freed up 2 of my entire working days to homeschool my son. So I could have freed up 2 whole days to do the training if I'd been forced to do it. So this little section, I suppose it's as much for me as it is for anybody else, really. So really challenge that assumption. One of the big things for me is my son used to go to a club every night of the week. So, between 6 and 8 o'clock, I'd be driving somewhere, coming home, going back, picking him up, coming back again, dealing with bedtimes. Those 2 hours of associated going to Cubs or going to swimming club or whatever, that time actually frees up time to spend with him. That means there's other times in the day that are now more appropriate for training. So I think the lockdown lifestyle is actually, it's an easier and more stress-free life in some ways than it was before. So I'm definitely going to be looking at this and reevaluating it as well. So, have a look, see what you can do. If you've been thinking of doing 70.3 or Ironman and you thought you haven't got the time, maybe this is a time to give it a go. If you're interested in having a chat to us about coaching, Team OxygenAddict, I think, is the best all-around triathlon training solution that's out there at the moment. If you'd like to have a chat to me or one of the team about how we work and how we can help you, there's a link in the show notes. Give that a click. Come along and give us a chat. But we've got loads of new stuff going on, as well as really good training plans. We've officially partnered recently with Performance Chef, so our athletes get meal plans, and now we're officially partnered with them. They're offering a massive discount on their one-to-one personal nutrition coaching. It's so much of a massive discount. I can't tell you how much of it is on air. They'd absolutely kill me for it, but it's ridiculous. They're also offering monthly food coaching calls to our athletes who take them up on this one-to-one food coaching. So you get to do cook-alongs over Zoom with Alan Murchison. You get to do workshops and online sort of nutrition coaching calls with him. It's literally like a money can't buy opportunity to work with him. So that's part of the team, and it's an extra that you can buy into. We've also partnered with Precision Hydration, who are offering our members personalized hydration calls. We've partnered with Matt Botterill for aerodynamics and bike fitting help to get a discount on his services. We partnered with HRV for training, so all of our training plans come with HRV guidance and how to adapt your plan on a day-to-day basis within a set of guidelines based on how you recover on a daily basis. Because if you're training hard on a day when your body isn't ready, you're not only wasting the effect of the training, you're actually damaging the effect that you're having on your body. You're making it worse rather than better. So again, if you're training without HRV guidance, it is a massive loss at the moment. So come along, give us a call, find out about all this stuff. There's too much to talk about in a minute section on the podcast. So that link's in the show notes for you. And if you want to come and have a go at training with us, Tuesdays at 7:15 p.m. on Zwift, you can take part in the Oxygen Addict Triathlon Podcast Power Hour. Workouts guaranteed to raise your FTP and give you a faster, more powerful bike leg this coming season. You can train alongside my athletes and, usually 100 or so more others as well from around the world. Really get a taste of what our workouts are like. All of our workouts come written so that they seamlessly integrate and upload on a daily basis into Zwift for you. So the days of getting some sort of vague instruction on how to get a bike ride within your training plan, that is so outdated. If you're being coached by someone who's giving you that still, you are really being given the short end of the stick here. You need your workouts uploaded into Zwift. You need your power and heart rate levels on the screen in front of you as you're training so that you know you're doing it accurately, because otherwise your training time is being wasted. So give us a call and find out more. Before we go to this week's interview of the week, shout out to our sponsors, TRR Nutrition. Their Pro Advanced Collagen Supplement is a liquid collagen supplement that's aimed to help old people like me, aging athletes whose bones and joints and ankles and knees are starting to ache in the mornings. So I've got to say, I've started taking this about 10 days ago. It's too early to tell yet whether there's an effect or not. I feel like there is, but I'm very well aware of the placebo effect of this. It's like a liquid shot that you take. It comes in a little glass jar. You unscrew the top and have a little drink every morning. It's kind of bitter cherry flavor. And each supplement comes with 10,000 milligrams of marine collagen. It's also got stuff in like glucosamine, turmeric, ginger, vitamin C, all the stuff that science says it helps support joint and bone health. It was originally developed for Andy Murray, who's someone who had a lot of joint problems in his ankles, obviously, and it's endorsed by Tim Don, and it's endorsed by Sarah Svensk, and it's endorsed by Crowe. So I'm giving it a go. I think if you've been suffering with problems with your ankles and your joints and things like that, if you want to give this a go, it's the first supplement on the market that comes in this liquid form, as far as I know. Really easy to take. Get over there and give it a go. You can use the code OxygenAddict15 to get 15% off your first order. All right, here we go. This is this week's interview of the week with Kimberley Morrison. Kim Morrison, welcome to the show. It's great to have you. It's great to have you back on, actually. I was looking back in as we had a brief interview on with you back in about episode 80, way back in the day. So it's lovely to get you back on and see how you developed and hear your stories from the last, golly, that must be, what's that, 200 odd episodes ago. So it's 4 years back, isn't it? It must have been 2015, 16 back then. So welcome back.
Wow, yeah, thank you for having me. I can visualize exactly where I was at that time, actually. That was when we were back at our house previous, and I was, set up in the garage speaking to you. So, wow, 4 years ago. A lot's changed. It's exciting.
A lot has changed. And I mean, even back then you had a reputation as being a strong biker, but you didn't quite have the reputation for being the terrifying biker that you do at the moment. We're always seeing these reports of you absolutely decimating people on the bike. So it's going to be interesting to hear the story about how you've progressed and the other things you've worked on in your triathlon armory since then. So let's kick it off. I want to ask you this. I was having a nosy over your website, and one of the most recent updates via Twitter is, while most people have been in a bit of a hold pattern during the pandemic times, you've just been and nailed a sub-3 marathon on your own, which is a pretty damn impressive achievement any time of the year. But you were also doing it to raise money for Great Ormond Street Hospital as well. So I want to hear that story. Let's kick off with that.
Yeah, so when lockdown really took hold, I needed a focus. I needed something to bring together a lot of good news, and I wanted to inspire others. So Team Gosh, Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital, obviously had all their spring events cancelled. So being a former Gosh patient, when I was just a little girl, I went through open heart surgery, a charity super close to my heart. So immediately I thought, yeah, let's really push and support and raise as much money as we can for the hospital, which I continually do day to day anyway, but this is a real focus and a real opportunity for friends and family to get behind me. And the plan was put in place. My coach, David Tilbury Davis, now wasn't frightened when I said sub 3 hours. So that gave me the belief that I could do it, and we set to work. And it was a case of week after week, when the run training was ticked off, I said, it's going to be close. And then a couple of weeks to go, I'm going out doing my race prep sessions thinking it's going to be close. I did a run session and I thought, wow, it's just clicked. So to run a sub 3 hour marathon, you have to be ticking off 4-minute 15-second Ks. And those Ks earlier that week just started clicking and feeling really quite comfortable. So I thought, it's got to feel comfortable for it to be possible. A marathon is a long way. And the day came, the support was coming in, and especially from my nutrition sponsor Talk, they really got behind the idea. And we had people going out, messaging me saying they hadn't run for a while. You've inspired me. I've gone out and I've done 10K, or I've gone out and I've done 5K. And we all coloured the rainbow. And the rainbow meant different distances were targeted. I think people liked having that visual. And then I obviously went out and ran my 42 plus K and just came in 2 hours, 59 minutes and 22 seconds.
Fantastic. Well, it's a massive achievement to crack that sub-3 marathon. And I know lots of people listening, that'll be their dream, to run the sub-3 marathon. Talk us through the last 6 miles of that, because I think that's always where the interesting stories in a marathon lie, don't they?
I decided that to do it all on road would be quite demanding. So I chose probably the worst place ever in the marathon to go off-road. It was with about 6 miles to go.
Oh, no.
And hilly, undulating track just outside of Holcombe, coming towards home, Burnham Thorpe. And wow, a few days before I'd been out on the cross bike just to double check the route, and I couldn't quite believe, but they'd re-gravelled. So it became really quite heavy on this off-road track in parts. And I smiled and I thought, it's okay, it adds to the challenge. But when I got there, like you say, 6 miles to go, I put out a 4:45 kilometre, so 30 seconds off the pace. However, I had accumulated a couple of minutes in the bank, so to speak, so I wasn't too worried. But that moment really was make or break. I could have decided, that hurts way too much, the rest of my Ks are probably going to fall similar. But something inside me was like, no, like this is where you've got time to say to yourself, you have got this. And I appreciated that very soon that off-road track and that heavy shingle would be over and I'd be back on the tarmac and the Ks would hopefully start to feel a little easier. They didn't feel easier, but I just felt and home was in sight. So yeah, interesting you ask about 6 miles to go, because I did not make it easy for myself.
No. I did my one and only sub-3 at London and had 4 minutes in the bank at halfway. And I remember getting to the 20-mile point and was starting to really eat into that little buffer that I had. And I remember running along the embankment, mostly with my eyes closed, like having a look forwards and thinking, right, there's nobody there, just closing my eyes for 5 or 6 steps at a time to just try and will myself forwards. And I had the same experience as you. At about 22 miles, I was working in miles and I was meant to be running 650s and ended up running a 750 for that 22nd or 23rd mile. So a whole minute had gone and I was thinking, if I lose a minute a mile for the next 5, it's over. I'm going to run 3:02. And I really pulled myself together and felt like I was running really well. And at that point got passed by a guy dressed as Santa. I was like, I can't believe I'm in the more pain I've ever been in my life trying to will this body to get to the line in under 3 hours, and Santa Claus comes by. Luckily for me, he broke the world record for the guy running as Santa. So there was a little bit of like, oh, okay, he wasn't just some Santa coming by. But yeah, those last few miles, it's a real mental battle, isn't it? When your mind, I don't know if you had this, but your mind kind of says, it'd be okay. Like just finishing a marathon's a really good achievement. 3:02, 3:03 still really good. And you really have to kind of overcome that voice in your head, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, at least you were overtaken by a record-breaking Santa. But I raced London, well, I say raced. I ran the London Marathon when I was 18 years old, and that was purely to get to the finish line. You've got to be 18 to run it. I think I applied when I was 17, but would have been 18 race day. And I crossed the line in, 4 hours, 23 minutes. And I can hand on heart say that hurt way more being was in the preparation I didn't know about and didn't do than this one most recently. And I did reflect back and I did think, wow, like, yeah, okay, that was a fair few years ago, but gosh, what a difference a bit of focus can make, and a bit of heart and ambition with where you want to go. Yeah, it was a nice reflection to reflect back on the London Marathon.
Do you think that having applied yourself to almost like a pure running block, do you feel that that's going to help you out going forwards in your Ironman career? Because you've always been incredibly strong swim biker, and your run's been improving, and to sort of put a sub 3 hour marathon on the board that's a real gold standard run time, isn't it? How are you feeling confidence-wise about your run going forwards into, well, I was going to say into 2020, but whenever races start up again?
Yeah, I think from doing that marathon and the training and the preparation that went into it, I think we've learned a lot about me and what can enable me to operate at that sort of intensity. It's going to be a completely different story when we're trying to run off the bike. It will be interesting to see how that develops. It's going to be a different type of training, but we didn't neglect the bike. It's still very much triathlon, so we didn't neglect the bike, but for sure we put focus on the run. I think the most important point to take forward from it is just the confidence to know I can run, and it's not a case of, oh, never mind, we'll catch Kim on the run. I just want to put the confidence in myself that I can run.
Yeah, and I mean, you've absolutely proved that on several occasions. I think I was looking back over your results from this year, and let me check my notes. Where was it where you had a battle with Kristen Leopold for second, and you battled in like the final few kilometers? Was that Tallinn?
Yes, that was Tallinn, and that was when I was racing my heart out to get my Kona slot. And she's a phenomenal runner.
She really is, isn't she? Yeah.
Challenges the best in the business, in our sport. So yes, it was super close, 200 meters to go. But if you compare our run splits, she ran nearly half an hour faster than me. But
wow.
Then I swam and cycled almost half an hour faster than her. So it's of the three. Leopold, fortunately, had already qualified for Kona. That doesn't mean to say I didn't put in the extra effort, but it just meant that her knocking me down to third, I still got my Kona slot.
Yeah. And so your races last year, then you had Ironman Texas, where again you had a blazing fast bike split. You just missed out on the Kona slot at Texas. You then had Frankfurt. Now, do I remember rightly? Did you puncture at Frankfurt while you were in second?
Yeah, I punctured at Frankfurt live on the live stream, which was devastating.
Heartbreak.
None of my family were out there, so I knew they'd be watching at home. So that was an emotional moment, and I was unable to fix the puncture using the sealant that I had in the back of my little pocket on the bike. So you learn from those.
Yeah.
Frankfurt was a massive focus, so it was very disappointing, but you learn from those, and riding tubeless from now on.
So I want to ask you a little bit more about sort of your childhood. You said you spent the first couple of years of your life in Great Ormond Street with heart problems. Tell us a bit about the story of that, because that's a pretty amazing success story for them and for you. But in terms of like their little narrative, a baby who's spent the first couple of years in Great Ormond Street, who goes on to become multiple 70.3 champion, it's pretty amazing physical comeback. What happened to you when you were born then?
So when I was a little girl, I was getting smaller rather than bigger. So they knew something wasn't quite right, but what that was, they weren't sure. But I was diagnosed at the age of 2.5 with a hole in my heart.
Okay.
It's quite common. I mean, babies are born with the hole in the heart and it all seals up nicely. However, mine was left with a hole, so that needed fixing. And being in the hands of doctors at Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital, the operation was a huge success. And I was home, and then I was growing up, and I was absolutely loving and excelling in sport from a young age. We have been back to visit the hospital many times, especially from a child up to 18 years old, to have testing done regularly. There is still a small hole in the bottom chamber, but it's not something that affects me physically when I'm out swimming, biking, running. I think the only concern would be if I was to go scuba diving and breathe the compressurized air, that could be potentially fatal. So physically, my heart is working as happy as it could be.
Mm. And what do you remember from that time, from being so young, from being under 2.5? Have you got any conscious memories of back then?
I struggle to know if they're conscious memories or reminders from my mother's diary, because when I go into schools, they kindly invite me in to share my story. I relay my mother's diary from that time, and having read it a few times to people, and people coming and having a chat with me afterwards, and feeling their warmth towards me sharing the story, makes me feel like I do have some strong memories. But then I'm not sure if that's me reading the diary or whether they actually are memories. I was very, very young, so I get a sense of what was going on, but whether I remember, I couldn't be sure.
Yeah. Okay. And do you think that experience affected you on a subconscious level, maybe, or even a conscious level, in terms of the amount you enjoy physical activity, having been in hospital so much as a young kid, or a drive to succeed?
Oh, 100% a drive to succeed, but more just a drive to do what you absolutely love every day. That's always been my driver. I've always thrown myself into things I absolutely love. And there was a big change from leaving school and going into the Loughborough University's biggest sporting university, or, the Sporting University of Excellence, to pursue field hockey, which I absolutely loved. And then I took my mathematics degree into the world of banking in London, which I absolutely loved. And then when triathlon was introduced to me and I started to enjoy it more and more, I then threw into that. So it's always been a case of perhaps not the physical exertion, but just throwing myself into things I absolutely love.
Okay. And how hard was it to step away from a career in banking? Obviously, you're a very intelligent person. You've got a degree in maths and you had a job in the city. What was the decision like to kind of leave or take a break from that to go into full-time sports?
Super easy. When the opportunity arises, wow, like super easy. I had the support from the bank to take a 4-year career break to give the triathlon ambition a really good go. And I had the support at home as well. That's super important. The support at home enabled me to take that career break.
Oh, sorry. I think the signal just dropped out there for a second. Never mind. We'll keep on rolling. So where are you in that 4-year cycle now? How far through it has that ended, and you're now officially a professional athlete full time, or are you still within that 4-year?
Wow, no, that has ended, and I'm not back at the bank. So
brilliant.
Yeah, I really enjoy the life we've set up now in Norfolk. I love this lifestyle. This lifestyle's beautiful, and also working with the family-run business, Went St Paul's. So they're my focuses now: the family, being at home, and the family-run business, and of course my career as a triathlete.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me ask you about the jacuzzis then, because you've got jacuzzi written in big letters in the middle of your sponsor's T-shirt there, and on your Instagram and your Twitter feed, it's constantly telling me the benefits I would have if I had a jacuzzi in my back garden. And I've got to be honest, Kim, it's not going to take a lot of selling to convince me that I need to get in a jacuzzi, whether there's recovery benefits or not. So is that the family business that sponsors you then?
So the family business is Went St Paul's. We are a supplier of jacuzzi hot tubs. Jacuzzi is a massive brand. I think they really took on the concept of a jacuzzi bath, and the brand was born. So they are a brand of hot tub that we supply. So jacuzzi are a headline sponsor of mine. So to do what I do day to day, I have jacuzzi to thank for absolutely everything. And it's not just the relaxation of a jacuzzi hot tub. Like, it's given me such a great opportunity to get Kona ready and to get Texas ready with the heat you can generate. So you can pop that up to 40 degrees, sit in there for 40 minutes after a hard bike run session, and the adaptation of your body trying to recover under the stress of heat really, really has helped me, I feel, in heat adaptation training. So it's a nice tool. It's a beautiful.
I'd never considered using it in that way, actually. I didn't realize that they could be heated up as hot as that. 40 degrees sounds like it's almost hot enough to cook eggs in. So I'd imagine it does add a significant heat stress to your day as well.
It does. yeah. But to prep for a super hot race, it has worked, we feel, really quite well.
Nice, yeah. All right, so let's talk a bit about your experience at Kona last year then. You managed to get yourself to Kona after, you'd had the race at Texas, and then you'd had the flat at Frankfurt, and then you got the third place to finally get that slot nailed in Estonia. How was your race out in Kona?
My race out in Kona was not what I went out there for.
Okay.
I didn't want to not swim with the main front pack. I didn't want to not cycle my way up the pack. And there's a lot of things that I feel I was disappointed in with the race. However, I went there super excited, super proud to have got onto the start line. I mean, when I first took up triathlon, it was reading Chrissy Wellington's book, A Life Without Limits. So from her book, I know, or her experiences in Kona, and it's excited me ever since. So getting there was just magical for me, and the experience and just being with all my friends from triathlon was super exciting. But yeah, like I say, the race, for me, I put it down to one race too many that year. I was hunting for Kona, and I won't do that in the future. I will just race to be the best I can be that day. I got into a cycle last year of just hunting for Kona, and that's all that I felt like I wanted. So I think now I've just got to realize you've got to be your best on that day for each race and take it as it comes, because there was an element of, okay, I got there, and then, not executing the race I potentially could have shown had I not raced so much that year. So
yeah,
mixed emotions.
It's hard, isn't it, when you have to race so often to get the slot to get there, when if you get there you're either mentally or physically or emotionally tired, or all three. I suppose it must be hard to kind of rationalize the experience afterwards, like you've clearly done, and said, you know what, it was a great experience. I loved being there with my friends. I didn't have the race I wanted, but you'll take that experience forward into future years and kind of know what to expect when you get out there. Was there anything that surprised you in the race out at Kona?
I was going to say that it wasn't that hot, but come race day, it was very hot.
Right, okay.
When I first arrived, I was in my jacket, and there was downpours, and yeah, it felt kind of chilly. And I thought, wow, what's everyone talking about? Yeah, it soon heated up. Was there anything that? I mean, my brother came over from Tokyo to come and watch as well. That was like just seeing him there and just having his beaming face out on the course. That was something really quite special too. I think the nature of the run course shocked me. People have told me what it's like, but it shocked me in the fact that you are literally just running up that highway, super isolated. I mean, the only people you have for company are the people passing you, in my case, unfortunately, or the aid stations. There's nothing much more out there. I mean, I had the excitement of Jan Frodeno running the other way, Annie Haug, and I felt that was cool. But other than that, you are just going out along a highway, and you are super hot and super tired. And wow, yeah, that requires some serious focus and training, I think.
And how was your experience of the bike course out there? Because obviously you're kind of known for being an Uber biker. Was it what you expected? Were the weather conditions what you expected?
Yeah, I erred on the side of caution. I used the slimmer front wheel just so the handling felt okay. I'm kind of experienced with the strong winds because I've done a lot of training in Lanzarote, and here in North Norfolk we're super windy along the coast. The wind, I don't think it was one of their windiest Konas, so that didn't seem a problem. Yes, it was hot, but I had techniques to cool myself, and that I felt like that worked well. I believe I chose the wrong gearing. I was riding with a very large front ring, and I don't feel I had enough gears for those hills. I mean, I appreciated it was rolling. I didn't quite appreciate what some of those sort of hills would feel like with that chain ring on. So I'm now riding the SRAM Axis. I think that's a much more suitable setup for Kona.
Okay. What size ring did you have on the front for that?
58.
Okay. And it just...
So I had nowhere to go.
Right, okay. Was it useful on the way back down from Harvey? Did you feel as though that would have been... It's kind of hard to have the right gearing for both directions, I suppose, isn't it?
Yes, it was. And I didn't spin out. So that was one thing I was worried about. So yes, it was useful for that section for sure.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk a little bit about the PTO. The PTO have managed to help set the interview up. So I've been really interested to hear the experiences of athletes. Obviously, coronavirus pandemic hits. Everyone was looking forward to seeing the racing happening out at the Collins Cup. Honestly, I was expecting it to just get delayed by another year. And the announcement that they were just going to pay all the pros was pretty mind-blowing, really. And it's not something that affects age groups, but it's always interesting to find out, as a pro athlete who relies largely on prize money for their living, obviously if there's no races going on, you're in an unprecedented time in already unprecedented times. So how's the thought of the PTO helped you pros out during this time?
So when the initial announcement came and we all became aware that racing wouldn't happen, I think it was a case of, okay, wow, who's going to reach out and maybe give me a sort of, not a lifeline, but maybe just a bit of conversation around what things are going to now look like. And the PTO were one of the first people in my world of triathlon and the support I receive to reach out and explain the situation and explain, okay, we don't know what's happening in the future, but this is what may happen and these are the steps we may or may not take. And just to have that voice and that communication and that level of support really, really helped me have an awareness of, okay, nobody knows what's going on, but we have their support. Wow, thank you. And thank you for communicating and thank you for reaching out. And they've been excellent at their communication throughout these whole 12 weeks where we haven't had a race to race. So for me, it's definitely the PTO's communication that has been first class.
Yeah, cool. And did they literally just contact everyone and say, we're just going to send you guys a check? Don't worry. Here's the prize money from this year getting divided up. It
was a case of, this is how the prize pool works with the PTO. This is how the ranking system works. And these are the financial benefits for your finishing position. So we were just paid our finishing position early.
Nice little end of season bonus, getting paid early, hey?
Yeah. But then, like I say, it's really the communication from the PTO that I feel has really stood out and really helped me. Just knowing where we are and knowing that someone's working on it for us, you know? Yeah, absolutely. Are you excited for the future of triathlon to see where they'll take it? Because they've got a very big vision in terms of, the golf world tour, the tennis world tour. If they can do that for triathlon as well, that could potentially be, a complete game changer, couldn't it? Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to, if the opportunity comes to race in Daytona in December, I'm really looking forward to us all getting together and all having that face-to-face conversation and getting a real understanding of where the PTO is taking triathlon and what that is going to look like, not just for the athletes, but for everyone moving forward. So I really do hope this Daytona race can take place still this year. We live in hope and get a little bit more clarity around that. Let's talk a little bit about coaching and how important coaching's been to your sort of progression of your career so far. You mentioned earlier on, I know you were originally working with Mark Pierce and you've recently changed to be working with David Tilbury Davis. How important has coaching been to you in your progression, do you think? Massively. So my first coach was Perry Agas when he was working for Team Dylan, and we worked together and he took me right up to European age group champion in Kitzbühel in 2014. And we had great fun together. And it was my first experience of a coach relationship. Great guy. Absolutely loved our relationship. And then when I started racing professionally, Mark Pierce from Intelligent Triathlon Training was I felt like he was the perfect fit because he was starting out in the world of Ironman racing. He previously was supporting the women's team for the 2012 Olympics on the shorter distance. And he excited me because I thought, wow, what a wealth of knowledge this guy has. So we kind of went on a journey together, experiencing and learning about the world of longer course racing. And Mark and I were working together for a good number of years, 4 or 5 years. And it was only just last year where I felt like I wanted to progress in a new way, hence taking the change again to David Tilbury Davis. But I would stress that I do think it's super important to give a athlete-coach relationship time, because the more time I spent with Mark, the stronger we got. It was great. It wasn't a case of, okay, I've decided today it's not right. It was a good long-term relationship. But now having a new set of eyes look at me, it feels exciting, and I feel refreshed, and I feel change. Every day now is slightly different, and it's refreshing and it's motivating.
Bit of reinvigoration in there, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, now let's talk about aerodynamics, because there's something that stands out about you in any photograph I've ever seen of you. I know you've done some work with Drag to Zero. They've got sponsorship on your kit. You look like the fastest bike position of any of the pro women. You look like the classic Matt Botterill Uber time trialer position on the bike. And it looks like you go really, really fast, given whatever power you put out. So how much work have you done sort of either with Drag to Zero or in the wind tunnel to work on that position?
When I first started riding the Scott Plasma 2 to 3 years ago, we got into the Drag to Zero wind tunnel and we set a position which the numbers read aero, and I felt comfortable-ish. And I cracked on, and I stayed in that position for a couple of years, and I rode it, and I got used to it. My body got used to it. And then when the new plasma arrived earlier this year, my coach, David Tilbury Davis, and I went to Drag to Zero, and we did some more testing. But this time it was way more scientific. We had the tunnel set up, and we had a position already, which we tested. And then we had a little time to experiment with the different positions of the handlebars. And something that I rode before was that sort of flat position where your arms are flat straight out in front. We've actually now brought my hands up towards my face, and then my neck sinks down and sort of sits just below and behind the hands. And this is actually a much comfier position, and it's much easier on the wrists. Can almost get yourself set and just stay there. So I feel the control of the bike also in that position it feels a lot more stable. We also had David taking some blood samples, so we were looking at what lactate was doing as I was changing positions. And from crunching all of those numbers, we then came to our best case position in regards to lactates, aerodynamics, and how I felt as a rider on the bike. Went away, and I've just been riding in that position ever since. And it feels faster, it feels comfier, and I'm not getting the lower back issues I used to get from putting so much pressure through the pedals, for example, a 100-mile time trial. So I think we're in a stronger position, a more aerodynamic position, and in a more efficient position to start cracking on with the run afterwards. So we spend a lot of time in the tunnel, and I'm so grateful for Drag to Zero to give me that investment. But then it's a case of going home and riding and drilling and dialing in that position and not looking at the floor.
Yeah. So that's well worth, I think it's well worth spending a bit of time talking about. It takes time to adapt to an aerodynamic position, doesn't it? And something, firstly, that looks great and feels great for 2 minutes in the tunnel isn't going to be rideable in for a great period of time outdoors necessarily. And you need to do some practice, and you need to do some drills to practice holding that position. What are some of the drills that you do to help develop the ability to hold that position?
There's some work we do in the gym that helps with the neck, because it's so important to be able to sink that neck down. I mean, getting your head out of the way is worth way more than anything you can purchase to put on the bike to make it faster. So we work on a bit of strength there. Drills wise, there's no specific drill we use. We just crack on, and I spend 90% of my time outdoors on the time trial bike in race position. So it's just time. It's time. It's like when you're running, time on your feet, when you're trying to dial in that time trial. Time.
Keep on working on it.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I noticed on your website, as well as having a list of sponsors from the industry, as it were, you've also got individual people and couples named as sponsors. Is that right? Have you got like individual people who sponsor you?
Yeah, it's so wonderful. So I have family and friends support back home here in Norfolk, and they absolutely love finding out how races have gone, what training camps are going on, what I'm doing, where I'm next, and it's just lovely. And they just like to give a little bit of financial support, and it just helps so much, especially with the cost of the sport and how much traveling we do. So yeah, I have a really sweet, nice, warming support at home.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, so what's the big dream for you looking forward? Obviously, I think we have to kind of put a pin in this year, and hopefully you get to race in Daytona. Going forward into the next season, what kind of races have you targeted, and where will it take you to?
The big dream for me is to become an Ironman champion. That is 100% what I work for each and every day. And it's not a case of, okay, I want to be an Ironman champion, where can we pick? It's a case of, I want to go to a big Ironman and I want to win that race. And I feel and I believe that I do have the capabilities. I just feel like I need more time to get there. I feel I've definitely got potential to improve in all three areas of swim, bike and run. And I'm super excited to get there. And I know I won't stop until I do.
That's awesome. Hey, well, listen, that seems like a pretty decent place to leave the interview, Kim. Thanks very much for your time. Where can people go to find out more about you and follow you on social media and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Triathlon Kim on Twitter, Kim Morrisons on Instagram, and my website, www.kimberleymorrison.co.uk.
All right, fantastic. Well, listen, thanks very much for your time and best of luck in the coming year, and we'll be following your results with great interest.
Perfect. Thank you, Rob. Thank you for having me.
All right, there we go. There's an interview with Kim in the can. What do you think of that then? I think it's a pretty amazing story, really, to have come from spending the first few years of your life in Great Ormond Street Hospital to being a multiple 70.3 champion. And it's great that she does so much still for raising money for that charity. That's brilliant. I really, really love that. And it sounds like with her personal sponsors and the like individual names that she's got on her website that sponsor her, there's a real family and friends feel behind what she does, which is quite unusual and really nice. I really liked that. So get over and check all her social media out. She's got some great posts on, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Like I was saying before, she is a really good aerodynamic position to have a look at if you're someone who's doing their own sort of bike fit stuff at home and tinkering with your position. You can do a lot worse than looking at Kim Morrison and trying to replicate some of the positions that she's got her body into. All right, guys, one of the things she mentioned after we finished recording, actually, I want to share this with you. She said the next little challenge that she's going to do with herself is she's already, I think we alluded to this in the interview, she's already ridden 3:44 for a 100-mile time trial. Her next little personal challenge is going to be to see if she can crack 4 hours on her own in training for the full 112-mile bike ride of an Ironman. That'd be something pretty special, wouldn't it? So she said she's gonna drop me a line if she's successful with that, if she actually gets around to doing it. So watch this space. We'll keep you updated. Pretty much brings us to the end of the show. Here are some discount codes and deals for you to end with. A Precision Hydration, you can use the code OxygenAddict15 for 15% off your first electrolyte order. trrnutrition.com, you can use the code OxygenAddict15 for 15% off your first order of their Pro Advanced Collagen Supplement. TeamOxygenAddict.com for all your triathlon coaching needs. And remember, there's links in the show notes for all of these sponsors so you don't have to remember them. Until next week, have a great, safe training and racing week. I'm Coach Rob Wilby, and you've been listening to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon Podcast. See ya!